Welcome to the first series of the Brand Bandwidth Minisode, where we're going to cover different topics to help you grow and move forward. We're going to release new videos every Wednesday, and I'm really excited about it actually. This is not the most complex of subject, but I often have to explain it. One of the reasons why having a benchmark is important is because you cannot trust your memory. Not 100%, not when it comes to those things. Because of that, it's good to take notes. So how am I feeling today on the 0 to 10 scale? And you take a note and you say when it was. Now, one of the things that is really hard is to decide what is the size of the scale. Maybe you're going to check with yourself every day, maybe you're going to check with yourself every week, every other week, or once a month. That really depends on the kind of work you're doing and what are your goals. Maybe there is a very specific things you want to get through and you know that it's not going to be that hard and you're like within 2 weeks, I certainly hope, that's fine. And you can look at yourself every day. Maybe it's something that you want to change and it's a hard habit to change and you're going to be in 6 months, I want this to have changed. Then you're going to adapt the scale of your benchmark to your goal and what you're doing and how you're doing it. Another important aspect of this is that growth is not linear. Learning is not linear in this aspect. What I mean by that is that you could start a task to get better and you will feel better, let's say after a week. But on the second week, you will feel worse than how you were doing just a few days ago. And then you will feel better again after. And then a tiny bit worse and better again. Basically what you see is a staircase, going up and down all the time. But the trend, if you look at it on a long enough timeline, is that you're doing better. And this is the challenging part. It's not as much as you're doing back steps, it's more that you're falling a tiny bit on the step you're on. You're not going that far back, but it feels bad. And this is very challenging because it's going to challenge your mind and it's going to make you question yourself. Am I doing enough? Am I doing the right thing? Should I continue? And this is why having a benchmark that you take note on is very important. Because by looking at it, you'll be able to say, well, this week I'm, a 5 out of 10 on my scale. Last week I was a 7, but when I was starting the exercise, I was at a 1. So I am doing better and it fluctuates. And it will fluctuate because we are human living in society. And there is a lot of external element impacting us every day. And that is very normal. But by following that, you're going to be able to see that along your timeline and your progress, the lows are not as low and the high are higher and more consistent. And you will flip from trying to fix something that, I just want to have one good day to I don't want to have a singular bad day. And once you get that, then you've made progress. And you will be able to see it. Because I can guarantee you that after a year of working on yourself, you will not remember how bad it was, not in the detail that you need to be able to gauge the difference properly. The other reason why a benchmark is important is that most of the things you're going to work on and you're going to try to address are going to take time. It's a bit like going to the gym. If you go to the gym for one day, for 6 hours and you leave the gym, not only you're not going to be doing very well, but you won't see any change. Whereas if you go to the gym for 20 minutes every other day for a month, after that month you may feel a change, you may feel better, depending what you're doing and how you're doing it. Well, it's a bit the same concept. Because it's going to be over a period of time that you're going to be able to bring change, you're going to want to have those notes for you. Because it's not going to be instant. From one day to the next, you may never be able to see change. And this is only changing on a different timeline than day to day. Maybe it will, depending what you do. But in most of the case, 1 week to the next, you're gonna see change. Not necessarily one day to the next. Which means you can't recall all the days or all the weeks or all the events. By writing this, you're making sure that you're keeping track of it. So you don't have to worry about that. And if you're in doubt, you can look at it and you're going to have hard evidence that you're doing better. There is 2 aspects to a benchmark, the time and the scale itself. So the scale, I usually give people a scale that goes from 0 to 10, and you can choose whether the 0 is nothing and the 10 is the max, or the other way. You can have a 5 being neutral and a 0 and 10 being the exact opposite, this is completely up to you. This is depending on what you're doing. If you are looking at how stressed I am, you could say 0 is not stressed and 10 is very stressed. You could do something very simple like that. So you can adapt that, you can change the numbers, you can make it longer. I suggest to keep it relatively short with not too many numbers so it's relatively easy to use. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is the timeline. The timeline will change based on the work you're doing and how often you get results. So at first, I often advise take notes more often than not, every time you do any kind of work on yourself to grow, because that will help you see the frequency at which you see change. And that in turn will give you a timeline on when you can expect certain change. At the end of the day, the only person that can make it make sense is you, because you're the only one that knows really how you feel inside. As I mentioned, growing and working on yourself is not a linear experience. Not only do you have the outside world that's going to impact you, but you also have yourself that's going to impact you. Because you're trying to change certain aspects of yourself, part of you are going to fight back because they don't want to change. And it's hard to change, even for the better. And the goal is to be able to grow, to understand our motivation, what we're doing, get rid of the bad, whatever that means for you. And for that reason, it's going to be a lot of waves. It's going to be a lot of different experiences that happen at the same time. And that means some of them are going to help you feel better and some of them are going to remind you of the bad stuff. Or at some point you're going to be in sync with it and then you're not going to be, and that's going to feel bad. But at the end of the day, if you have the benchmark that's done, you're going to be able to see your progress. And you're going to be able to come at terms with the fact that when you have a worse day or worse week than before, it's fine. It's part of the process. It's normal. Nobody is asking you to become perfect. And that leads into the second point that is very important. When you actually succeed, you should celebrate that. You should be happy about it. Because it's not going to go away from you. Even if you feel a bit worse next week or the next day or whatever the case may be, nobody took away from you the work you've done or the growth you have had. It's just, the day-to-day life. So you should be happy when you're like, today is a good day, today it feels good, today I'm at, a 10 on happiness, or I'm at a 0 on stress, or whatever the case may be in your scale and how it works. But you should celebrate that, because that shows that the work you're doing is giving you results. And if you have results, then it's more about stabilizing what you do, and the benchmark will be able to tell you, is the work I'm doing stable? Am I more often than not better? Or do I have to do more work or a different kind of work? Or maybe it's going to show you that you're missing an aspect of it because it doesn't stick. So yeah, that was the benchmark. That's basically the first episode of a new series that we're starting, where we're going to explain certain concepts, certain exercise, and how to apply them.